Cowboys Nation. How the hell y'all feeling right now?
Yo, this is Neville Gallimore from the Dallas Cowboys, and I want to give a major shout out to Mike Tag. Keep bringing the hype to the Cowboys Nation. We love and appreciate it. Now, can you dig it?
What is up, Cowboys Nation? Happy Thanksgiving, first of all. And if you're checking in, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, share, get that out of the way because we got a lot to talk about. And if you're talking Cowboys, you're talking history, you're talking all that stuff, you know my man Greg, he's about as big as Cowboy fan as there is, and he's going decked out. He's already got the throwbacks. I'm happy they're bringing the uniform back, but how are you doing this morning, Greg? Happy Thanksgiving.
Well, first of all, let me say happy Thanksgiving, Mike. Happy Thanksgiving, Cowboys Nation. I'm doing fine. I'm ready. And you know me, by the time game time starts, I'm going to have the pants and everything on, down to the cleats.
Now you're going to be wearing the throwback, I'm sure.
Right.
You're going to be wearing that. You got the throwback helmet. Are you going full? I mean, you ready to roll? You
throwback helmet, throwback pants, all of it. All of it. It's going to be nice, man. I'm doing a video. My brother's going to come in there and clown with me in it, so it should be funny.
Very nice. No, we're definitely looking forward to it. And if no one is following Greg on social media, you're missing it because he brings the fire. One of these days, the hype is going to collide between Greg and I. And we're gonna put something special together, and it'll be a lot of fun. But no, it's really good. So make sure you guys follow Greg on all social media platforms. Which one is it? I know you got a few.
It's on Facebook is Gregory Girard. On TikTok is Gregory Girard 146, and then on Instagram I think it's like G2GGN, and Twitter, which I just started a while back. I forgot my handle on that, but just look up Gregory Girard, Dallas Cowboy videos, etc. You'll find them.
Yeah, no, definitely. And they'll see the videos. So looking at all the great memories, that's what I really, I was thinking about this show, and it's Thanksgiving. You smell the turkey, you got all the stuff in the house. It's my favorite day. I don't know why. It's a favorite day probably because of food, but more importantly, Dallas Cowboys, it's history with them on Thanksgiving. Yeah, you always wonder if the NFL is ever going to try and take that away from the Cowboys and the Lions, but so far so good. I know they added a game to kind of get some other teams involved, but just the history of Dallas on Thanksgiving. I mean, what's that mean to you? And also in the chat, definitely good morning to DB and Travel. Happy Thanksgiving. But what does that mean to you, Greg, when you're thinking about Thanksgiving?
Well, food, of course, and then family, friends, and the time of the season. It's fall/winter, and everybody gets together, and it seems like everybody's just so happy to be around each other. And then you got the Dallas Cowboys playing. And the Cowboys have been doing this since way back, since their inception. And they always play at Dallas, and somewhere in Dallas or now in Arlington. And the Cowboys game is always something everybody looks forward to. When I was growing up in Birmingham, back at my mom's house and all that, and all the friends, we would go back there. Everybody would get together in one room, all the guys, after we ate, and watch the Dallas Cowboys play. And man, you talking about having a good time.
Yeah. No. And I mean, to your point, Dallas has played they've got 32-22-1 is their record.
Yeah.
That's a lot of years playing.
We're
going to go through some memories. So, they rank the top 10 memories, and it's funny. I had a lot of them in there. Now, one we'll talk about probably the first one. We'll talk some Washington memories. Then we're going to get into some Dolphins, Eagles. We're going to go through it all. But one memory that's always top on the list. I'll be honest with you. I wasn't born yet. It was '74, but it was the Cowboys. Clint Longley replacing an injured Roger Staubach, and you had to come back and broke the hearts of the Washington then Redskins. So you start with that. You think about the RG3. You think about that game. I also think about Emmitt Smith's rookie. I believe it was his rookie season or his second year. I can't remember.
I think it was his second year. Yeah.
Was I just say that breakout game where he had like 130 yards and a couple touchdowns. So they've played. This is the 11th meeting between Dallas and Washington. Cowboys are 8-2, which got to make it feel pretty good going into the game today. But I think we had a rivalry show last night. With Kelly and I, and my son Mikey, we're talking about rivalries and where do you rank the rivalries and how do you do it? And I was saying sometimes it's generational. Like my son, Eagles are the number one rival. Like for Kelly and I, it was the 49ers just with the history. But to me, the divisional rivalry that we've always had has been Washington. I mean, how do you feel about the rivals and where would you kind of put some of these guys?
Yeah, see, the advantage of me being a 60s baby is I saw that game that you're talking about with Clint Longley. And I go way back watching the Cowboys. And the biggest rivalry for me was always with Washington. That was no matter who we played, if we played Washington, that was the rivalry because you were nervous because Washington was good. Washington was good. And it depended on each season who was going to take that division or who was going to win the Thanksgiving game. And I remember that game with Longley because the Washington Redskins said they were going to hurt Roger Staubach. They made it their effort to hurt him, and they did. And then Clint Longley came in, and Clint Longley played the game. He kept everybody intact, and then all of a sudden, Drew Pearson was supposed to do a post pattern. He was supposed to do a post, but he told Clint Longley that they got two defenders on him, so he's going to break it off. Landry, when he calls a play, he don't want you to break it up. No. So Longley listened to Drew. Drew took off and just did a fly pattern, and the cornerback turned his head. As soon as he turned his head, it was too late. The ball was over his head. This was like in the last minute or so of the game, less than that. And Drew Pearson caught that ball. Man, I was a kid. I jumped up and down. I was so happy that we won that game. Oh, man, that was the number one Thanksgiving game that I remember that I really love. But Skins were always our rival.
Yeah, I mean, I had San Francisco. We won't rehash it. If you guys missed it, go back and watch it because it was actually a very good interactive conversation between all of us. There's probably really no wrong or right answer. It's really how you feel. Like some will do a rival based on hate. Like, oh, I hate the number. To me, it's more on significance of, like you said, these games really mattered in the 70s and part of the 80s and even in the early 90s. When you played Washington, it meant, who's going to win the division, who's going to go further in the playoffs and all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely a cool rivalry. One of the other memories I had on the negative side was, and I have the picture, it was the RG3 game. And it was kind of like his coming out party. And it was him and Romo. And I'm trying to remember, was it 38-31? Was that the
no, it was 38-28.
Was it?
I think 38-28 or
38-20. No, it was 38-31. I was right.
31, yeah, because they kicked the late field goal. They kicked the late field goal and tried an onside kick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were down like 28-3.
Yep.
At halftime, then we kind of, did what Romo usually does. You kind of roar back and get back in the game. It was a little too late, but that was kind of like the RG3 coming out party.
Yeah.
And we kind of thought, okay, this rivalry is going to come back. And then, he had the knee injury. He never was the same.
No.
And it's just, to me, it's unfortunate. I think, and we talked about it. I don't know if the name change has a lot to do with it, but it just doesn't seem like the rivalry is as big as it was when it was Cowboys Redskins.
Right.
Like so, but yeah. So real quick, Fred's in the house. I don't know if you saw that, Greg, but Fred got the police came to his house because he was playing the Cowboys cave too loud, and he was told to turn it down.
What?
Yes. He sent the videos on Twitter, unbelievable. But yeah, we love Fred. He's a great part of the show, and the cuts he does. We actually had a giveaway, and a lucky Cowboys fan got a beautiful Cuts by Jones, special piece
That's
to
good.
Cowboys cave. So it was good. But so you got some of those some Washington Commanders, you want to call them that now, memories. Obviously, the Emmett, RG3, and Clint Longley. One of them we kind of were talking about off the air, and we'll go back in time a little bit. Is the Philly? Let me find it. I got to do all this. Was the Philly game? There you go. I remember this game. My family was doing. We did Thanksgiving camping for the first time ever. Never do that again. And we got beat. I want to say it was like 27-0. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was a beating. I think Aikman got sacked 11 times, and that was the infamous Bounty Bowl. So we're gonna play a little video. We're gonna play a quick video, and then Greg, I want to maybe share some of your memories, and definitely in the chat. We wanted to be interactive. If you've got some memories on some of these, share them as well. But this was the post game, and you don't have this much anymore with Jimmy Johnson going to the Ring of Honor. This is one of those reasons why we love Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah.
Winning and losing the ball game, of course, concerns me. What concerns me more than anything else is when you take away from the integrity of the game. Having bounties on opposing players is not the way it's supposed to be done. We were told last night by a coach, and it was confirmed by two different players. There's a $200 bounty on Luis Zendejas, a $500 bounty on Troy Aikman. That takes away from the integrity of the game. And I would have said something to Buddy, but he wouldn't stand on the field long enough. He put his big fat rear end into the dressing room.
Johnson, their coach, is making all kinds of excuses for not preparing his team well to play us. He also, I don't have any respect for him because he got my college on probation, Oklahoma State, and now he's at the Cowboys, and he doesn't have the guts to take credit for a loss. He's trying to blame the Philadelphia Eagles. And so I have no respect for the man at all. And I don't think if his friend didn't own the club, he wouldn't be back next year, I'm sure, as a coach. And I'm sure those players, those veteran players he has on that team, don't believe all that high school Charlie stuff.
That's fun. I love Buddy Ryan. I loved him. We talked about it, but what was your memory of that game and that whole situation, the Bounty Bowl? $200 and $500, that's pretty cheap nowadays to put a bounty.
Yeah. Well, see, the thing was, Walsh, the quarterback of the Miami Hurricanes, was playing for Dallas. And he was one of our quarterbacks. And the other thing about that game was Dallas was just getting their feet together. They were just starting to put the team together. And that game was cold. Yeah. And Dallas wasn't the Cowboys of legends like they had been up to that point. So when Philly played them, Buddy Ryan made sure that he wanted to hurt every player on the team, and the bounties he put on there went way back from his college days. See, he didn't like Jimmy Johnson at all, period. He went way back to the point that he put a bounty on the kicker.
Yeah, I didn't realize they went back that far with the college and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and he put a bounty on the kicker. And believe me, and this was before all the rules. And the Eagles came out and they crushed Dallas. And they were beating us down, literally. And you could, with some of the hits, you sit back and like, cringe, because it was so bad. And Aikman didn't have a chance. But the last laugh was with the Cowboys, because Jimmy did stay, and Jimmy got two of these, actually a third one that he earned. They just took Barry Switzer just took over the team. Yeah. But that was an awful game to watch, man. You kind of knew it was coming. Yes. You kind of knew it was coming because you knew what Philadelphia was like, knew what Buddy Ryan was like, and you knew we hadn't really evolved yet.
Yeah. No, and Philly's defense, you had Jerome Brown was one of my favorites from Miami. He was on there. Reggie, he had all those guys. It was unbelievable. It was funny that Buddy Ryan was always good for a joke. So when he said put his fat rear end, I was trying to find the clip where Buddy Ryan was like, "Hey man, I've been on a diet. I thought I'm 50 pounds. I feel like I'm looking good. Now he's calling me fat." He was always good for a good quote. I loved Buddy Ryan, his personality, everything, but he could never. he talked about Jimmy Johnson getting fired, or and high school Charlie stuff. But like you said, he won Super Bowls. Buddy Ryan really couldn't get out of the playoffs. Couldn't
That's
even get out of
right.
the round of anything, and it was unfortunate because he was, rest in peace, was a great coach, football guy.
Yeah.
And he was just so much fun. He helped, when you talk about rivalry, sometimes it's that interaction where you got the coaches, you got the players chirping at each other. You don't get that a lot nowadays. It seems like everything's canned. The coaches' press conferences are canned. The players' press conferences are all canned. It's scripted of what they're going to say. That's the one thing I always say about Prescott. Very rarely does he go outside the lines. Pretty corporate. And back in the day, it was refreshing. You saw all these coaches, man. It was a hatred.
It was in our division.
Yes.
All of them hated each other. The only ones that were somewhat kind of silent was the St. Louis Cardinals at the time, when they were still in our division before they split them out. But everybody else in our division, the Giants, the Eagles, the Skins at the time, were now the Commanders. It was a battle. It was a fight. And you didn't know who was going to come out and win that division until Jimmy Johnson got there, and then it was synonymous. You already knew.
No, absolutely. And we, and other great memories. Obviously, the Eagles. It's weird. We hadn't played them a ton on Thanksgiving, but then I look back to a couple other great memories, and I see it in the chat. We're definitely going to get in the Vikings. They're on my list. There's I saw the Dolphins. They're on my list for a couple of reasons. We're going to go to the good and bad. And I know, Greg, you said your wife's, a Dolphin. Well, she's Cowboys, but she does have some heart for the Dolphins. So we're going to get into some of that. But another great memory to me in the 90s was the Jason Garrett game.
Yes.
And he's the backup quarterback. And, this was, and I talked about it on the rivalry show. There was a time, and Greg, you remember, my son never does because he wasn't born yet. Dallas owned Green Bay.
Yes, he did.
Beat them for some reason, we played them every regular season just because of the way we were in the standings. Game was always in Dallas. And we just beat them every single time, and then we beat them in the playoffs. And in 96, the year that Green Bay finally won the Super Bowl, we beat them in the regular season. And then we were supposed to, everyone thought we were going to beat the Panthers. They were an upstart team in the playoffs, and we were going to play Green Bay in the championship game. And I talked to Brian Broaddus when I was on his show, and I asked him, I said, you were with the Green Bay Packers. I've always wanted to ask this question. Did you guys, you guys were salivating, waiting for Dallas because you finally want to beat them to get in the Super Bowl? He goes, no. He's like, no, I goes, we're fine not playing them. And why would you if you owned them? So I always, it's just a great rivalry. So it makes it even sweeter. But Jason Garrett comes in against the heavy favorite, Brett Favre and the Packers. And it was just an unbelievable, game. And I remember Jason Garrett said his wife told him, just throw it up high to Alvin Harper. That's all you got. So what's your thoughts in the chat on that? Was just another great game.
Yeah, and a little memory on that is Green Bay, who we beat in that game good, and Jason Garrett stepped in and played his butt off. Yeah. But we went up there and we played Carolina in the playoffs, and I think the team just thought, well, we're just going to run through Carolina. I thought it as a fan. Yes. And that was the year Carolina and the Jaguars were hot. I think they both made it to the conference titles that year, but they both lost. But when Carolina beat us and everybody was stunned, I said, I don't think we're gonna get back here again because the way they beat us. But Garrett came in that Green Bay game, and Green Bay just knew they were gonna win. And Pat Summerall, the Dallas Cowboys and the Green Bay Packers. The Cowboys, they don't have their quarterback back there, and Jason Garrett steps in, and it's going to be a game. But, I think these Packers might pull it out. Jason Garrett got in there, man. He played like he was playing schoolyard football and blew him out. I think he surprised himself in that game how good it was. But that offensive line, the Great Wall of Dallas, did exactly what they were supposed to do. Protect Jason and give him the opportunities, and we can win. And that's what happened.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I had friends who were Packer fans. That absolutely demoralized him and crushed him because I think it is like, Yeah, it ain't never going to happen. We're never going to beat the Cowboys. And it's funny, you go a few decades later, the roles are reversed, and we're the ones
Mm-hmm.
that never seem to get over the hump. The Carolina Panther playoff game is interesting, just to kind of change topics, but you brought it up. Is to your point, that game, I remember all the injuries, right? We had
Mm-hmm.
Irvin, all our guys were getting kind of carted off. And I remember just the sadness I had because I knew it was over.
Yep.
When that game, it just felt like the team, we're never going to be the same. That was like the end of the line. And
Mm-hmm.
sure enough, I mean, it was just kind of downhill. It was downhill since then. So, yeah, that was a great one. One of the other ones was Tampa Bay, Dallas. Tony Romo absolutely just put on a show. 5
Yeah.
touchdowns. I have the jersey. I'm looking at it. In front of me, and there was a main reason I wanted to get that jersey, like you're wearing with the stars and all of that. That was one of the most memorable games. Living in Tampa,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, whenever you can do that, it has it. But that was just another just unbelievable performance by Tony Romo. And interesting enough, I was looking it up. So you know how they do the turkey MVPs, you do all the
Yeah.
different. Emmitt Smith, 5-time MVP of Thanksgiving Day games. In second, Tony Romo with 4. So what's your memory of that game with Tony Romo, and maybe some others with Tony Romo as the quarterback? And in the chat, if you've got any as well, I see you popping in some. What's your thoughts as well on Tony Romo's years in those memories?
Well, I mean, when Tony came, I love watching Tony because Tony had the mobility that Aikman didn't have, but Aikman didn't need it because he had that wall blocking for him. But Tony lit up the game. When Tony played, it was entertaining. When he played Seattle in Dallas on Thanksgiving and blew them away, when he played always playing the Skins, except for that game against RG3 when RG3 lit it up, and Tony still brought us back. He still brought us back. But if we would have gotten that onside kick, I think we would have had a chance to pull it out. And then there was one we played Buffalo, because at that time my godson had played with Buffalo at that time, and they played in Dallas at the old stadium, and it was a close game, but Buffalo pulled it out, and I was kind of a little bit disappointed. But the one that stood out to me the most, that kind of agonized me, was the Leon Lett game.
We're going to get into that. We're going to get into that one.
The rest of them, Thanksgiving, man, that was the time to watch the Cowboys. And then we played Minnesota on Thanksgiving. And the memorable thing about that game was during the draft, Jerry Jones had an opportunity to get Randy Moss. We had the opportunity to get him. But because of Randy's off-field issues at Marshall, they didn't want to take a chance. And at that time, all the teams had this thing about, well, these off-field issues, we don't want to touch those players. But then we get certain players on our team, and then in the off-field issues, they had problems. But Randy Moss, he hated that. He wanted to be a Cowboy. And boy, when they played us on Thanksgiving Day, all I could think about is, man, we could have had that guy. And they made sure they game plan for him to light us up. And he lit us up. I remember Woodson trying to catch him one time. He was right up on him. He tried to catch him, and you could see Woodson just fading away easily. But they made sure that Randy Moss sent a signal that day. I could have been a Cowboy.
Yeah.
And he ate that turducken too.
No, it was a 46-36 game. And, that was a year. Yep, they definitely passed up. A lot of teams passed up on him. So I don't want to kill the Cowboys too much. But I think what killed that, and Michael Irvin talked about it too, was that was about the time Michael Irvin was getting in a lot of trouble. Had some off-field issues. And I think the image of the Cowboys were kind of, going south. But, sometimes you got to take chances with that. And they passed up on a Randy Moss. I remember, was it Kevin Dyson was taken ahead of Randy Moss? I think the Oilers took Dyson, if my memory's right, over him. And 3 touchdowns, 3 catches, 160-something yards. It was just unbelievable. Every catch was like over 50 yards. Hang on one second. I forgot to get my battery. I've done this. I hate when it happens, but there we go. You don't want to lose me, guys. But it was just it was just one of those memories. And when we played him anytime, he always made us pay for it. It wasn't forget
Yep,
Thanksgiving.
he sure
Anytime
did.
we had to play him, it was always there. One of the more recent ones I saw, talking about the Zeke years and the Dak years, obviously, and I'm going to miss this, and I don't know if they're going to do it if they get the opportunity, but that first time Zeke jumped into the kettle, it was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
that was
That was
such a cool
cool.
memory.
That was cool. Somebody called it whack-a-mole. It's
Yeah.
like whack-a-mole when he jumped in and then he got fined for it.
Oh, I
They
know.
fined him for it, but it was worth it, man. It was worth it.
Yeah,
But
and it was. Let's see. I'm seeing one here showing my age, but the random Thanksgiving memory, 1981. I'm gonna have to lean on my man Greg for this one. Danny White gets hurt, and Glenn
Carano.
Carano wins an ugly 10-9 game. Walter Payton had a huge game, and I think Too Tall blocked an extra point. So I don't.
That was in Dallas. That was in Dallas,
Yeah.
too.
Yep.
That
Yep.
was in Dallas. Yep. Carano wasn't with the Cowboys that long, but Carano stepped in, and at that time it was like, oh man, I don't know how we're gonna pull this out because Walter Payton was a beast. And
Yeah.
Chicago they were just starting to, you can smell the Bears trying to do something. And Carano managed the game. Put it that way. He managed it well enough for us to be able to win that game. But he didn't light it up. The most memorable backup on Thanksgiving Day was Clint Longley.
And Garrett.
That was the most, that was, and Jason Garrett. But if I put them 1 and 2, the only reason I put Clint Longley 1, because how he came back and won that game and that pass to Drew Pearson. Because, when I was a kid at halftime, we would go out in the backyard and play football. And I used to always want to be Drew Pearson. Always want. And I used to say, I'm going to do the pencil catch on the sideline. The pencil catch, with your feet hit right at the sideline and you go out. And when he won that game, man, I was so happy. Man, I was so happy. But Clint Longley pulled it out.
No. I mean, it's great memories, great memories. Hit that like, subscribe too. If you guys are new, again, we're just sharing some memories. You guys in the chat, I see you popping in and sharing some. We definitely would love to talk about it. Now, the most infamous one we'll get on is the Miami Dolphins. Now, history for me, and then Greg, you probably have similar history from the sounds of it. My oldest brother's a Dolphins fan. My mom's a Dolphins fan. My dad, he likes Miami, but I would say he was a Dolphins fan. He's more of a college guy, but he liked the Dolphins. So, we're in the house. I'm in high school, and this is the big game. And Dallas and Miami always gets a house charged up. I'm the lone wolf, so I got to run my mouth and defend myself. And we're rolling, during the season. They're playing well in the season. This is a full preview. And then you've got the injuries. And correct me if I'm wrong on some of this, but I think Bernie Kosar was our quarterback.
Yeah, I think it was Bernie Kosar.
Aikman was out. Emmett was out.
Yeah.
Emmett was because it was Lincoln Coleman was our running back.
And it snowed.
And it snowed in Dallas like no other.
Yeah.
And it was just a blanket on the field. And it was at Old Texas Stadium. So you definitely had that snow in there. And it was just one of those kind of ugly games, right? You had some turnovers, you had this. But Kevin Williams from the U returns that punt and does the slide, and he's holding the ball. And great memory. And we think we have it.
Right.
They go for the game-winning field goal at the end. We block it.
Right.
And oh no, Leon Lett does a big mistake, and the rest is history. But share some memories on that one.
Well, when Kevin slid in that end zone, the house was rocking because that was it. We knew that was it. And then Miami came down and got down in the scoring position. I said, "Oh man, here we go." And I'm just sitting back saying, "Well, this is going to be a long, drawn-out game." And then all of a sudden, they go to kick the. I think it was a field goal because they got in position and they just knew they had it because they were within distance. And all of a sudden they got blocked and I'm just screaming like, yeah, we got him. And it seemed like a long time between the block and all of a sudden coming out of the picture, here comes Leon Lett. And I'm like, no. And he goes down there to try to grab the ball. And Miami's standing around like, grab it.
Yes.
And he grabs the ball and I'm like, what are you doing, Leon? And then Miami gets the ball. Next thing you know, we lose this game. And you could see him on the sideline, Aikman on the sideline, like, what just happened?
Yeah. And was Aikman the quarterback on that game? Because I think Steve just said Aikman was a quarterback. I can't remember. For some reason, I have this vision of Aikman was in there, but did he get hurt? I have a vision of Bernie Kosar in that game for some reason.
Well, come to
No?
think about it, I don't think Bernie Kosar was in that game. No, it
Okay.
was
It was
Aikman. Yeah, it was Aikman. Yeah,
Okay.
it was
All right.
Aikman.
Yeah, I'm thinking of a
Yep.
different. I don't know. I think of a snow game with Bernie. Maybe I'm going back.
Yeah,
to
because
some-
I remember Aikman was on the sideline just looking after that. When that happened, he's looking like, what just happened? Everybody's looking at each other. And Leon Lett, infamous Leon Lett, just when you want something freaking crazy to happen, here comes Leon.
Yeah, yeah.
But that blew my. Oh, and my wife was happy.
Oh,
she
that
was happy.
absolutely,
She
that
was
absolutely
because
crushed
Miami pulled it out.
it. That game just absolutely crushed me. And yeah. When and that's true. We went on. That was the game. Last game we lost. Went on to win the Super Bowl. And yeah, I tell you, I give Jimmy Johnson credit. Leon Lett at the time, I think it was his rookie year or second. But he wasn't the big. I mean, he was up and coming and getting better. It was a later round draft pick, and Jimmy Johnson usually didn't have much patience, unless you were a superstar. So, but he saw Leon Lett crying in the locker room, and he said, "Look, man, because Leon thought he was going to get cut.
Yeah,
and he said, "Well, I'm with the Cowboys. You're not going to get cut. Put it past you." Everything was great. We go to the Super Bowl. Then Leon Lett in the Super Bowl, we break a record, most points and all this. And then the most infamous play he does in the Super Bowl,
right?
Obviously with Don Beebe getting caught from behind as he's kind of showboating in the end. But it was funny. But the payback to me, we played the Dolphins again, and Dan Marino was coming back from an injury, and so he was in that game. And I think he threw, again, I'm going off memory, so you guys in the chat, if you know it, correct me. I think he threw 5 picks or 3 picks. He threw a lot of interceptions.
Yeah.
And he threw one to Dion. Dion took it to the house. And I always remember, the fun of the old guys when they had these interviews is they asked about Dan Marino, and they said, well, yeah, Dan Marino said he was a little rusty. The balls weren't coming off good and this and that. And Dion goes, I don't know. The one he threw to me came off pretty well. Right in the bread basket, so those are the fun times that you had. But that was just another memory. And it's weird. The Cowboys and Dolphins, I think they played like 3 times on Thanksgiving. They do have some history on Thanksgiving Day, but just more great.
But that was, I think that one with the Leon Lett issue was the only one they won. I think.
No,
yeah.
Really? I
think that was the only one. I know they won 16-14. And we had played them, I think, previous to that. We won. It was like 14-7, something like that.
Yeah.
And
no, the Dolphins beat us. Yeah, Dolphins beat us 16-14. We beat them 20-19 in 2011. That was the Witten and DeMarco Murray one. So that's correct.
Okay.
And then we beat them 20-0 that year that I was talking about with Dion. So yeah, I think that's the only year they beat us was on that 93.
Yeah. And yeah, because Marino, he was on his way out. He didn't have the players around him like he had when they were super. They were starting to fade out. He was getting new people in. And then, Marino was having all these problems with his offensive line, calling them out and all that stuff. And it just got ugly for them.
There we go. There's another one. Lost to Quincy Carter. So they must be 2-2, maybe. I have to look it up. But I thought we did lose another one, the Dolphins, because I remember the aggravation. Whenever we lose to the Dolphins, I always got to hear it from my brother. So it's definitely, there's so many memories. I appreciate the chat. You guys always make sure we keep it straight. Happy Thanksgiving. Definitely, Bud. Yeah, he threw 5 picks. At least we got the confirmation on that one. And also, one of the memories, I might need help with you, Greg. Maybe I'm getting old in my days. The 5th, this was ranked number 8 on the top 10 list of Cowboy games on Thanksgiving. Broncos, thorn in our side. They always beat us. We played them in 2005. Broncos beat us 24-21 in overtime. Billy Cundiff missed a 34-yard field goal late in regulation. And Ron Dane, boy, a blast from the past. He set up a heartbreaking loss with a 55-yard rumble in overtime to lose the game. I don't really. Maybe I try and put those out of my memory, and I don't want to think about it. But
yeah.
Do you remember that game?
No, I don't. The only Broncos game I remember is when Peyton was Peyton quarterbacking then.
2005, I
I
think
just remember. I remember when Peyton came into Dallas, and that was a back and forth game. Back and
that was
forth game.
Brian Greasy. All right, now Steve is.
Oh yeah, I don't remember that one.
I'm glad Steve. It's starting to bring some memories. Brian Greasy was the quarterback. I'm starting to bring back some of the memories of that game because we don't play. I think that's might be like the only time we played the Broncos on
Yeah,
Thanksgiving.
and that was on Thanksgiving
It was on Thanksgiving. These are Thanksgiving Day memories.
in Dallas.
Top 10 games. So,
Wow.
yeah, that one I remember. Now I'm starting to remember. That's what happens when you get old. You start forgetting. So that one was
Yeah.
ranked. That was ranked number 8. We've touched on all of them. Vikings in '87. This is kind of at the fringe of my memories with the Cowboys. But Darren Nelson, another blast from the past. Vikings beat Dallas in overtime. Darren Nelson's game-ending 24-yard touchdown overcomes Danny White 5 touchdowns and
Yeah.
drops Dallas 5 and 6 out of the playoff race.
The Minnesota Vikings were hot then too. They were hot.
Yeah.
The Minnesota Vikings had a team then.
So yeah, it's funny. We talked about some of these memories, and I set them up, and it was funny that we hit really almost all of them. The Broncos one we missed, and then the Vikings one that we just talked about. You know, I missed that one, but just so many great memories with the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. I mean, good and bad. I mean, you got
Good
to
and bad. Yeah.
bad. You know, talking about today's game, talking about the Cowboys in Washington. What's your feelings? What's your gut on how today is going to go?
I take a deep breath, and I want us to come out, play clean, play consistent, and dominate this game. Don't make it close on Thanksgiving. I don't need that. Dominate this game and win. Washington has nothing to lose.
I hate
you have
nothing to lose.
And when you have nothing to lose as a player, you play your most comfortable. And when you relax and play your most comfortable, that's when you play your best game. Now, of course, they're going to come in and want to beat us because they know about the tradition. They're coming in with Dallas. They know that this is the game that every time they come into Dallas, at least since we've been in the new stadium, if I'm not mistaken, we've won. My wife and I went to the one a few years ago when Cooper, that was either the first year Cooper with us. I think it was first year. And
yeah,
we went,
someone mentioned in the chat the Amari Cooper game on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and we sat there and we watched him hit Cooper across the middle on 2 defenders. He spun out of it and he took off towards the sideline about 50 something yards for a touchdown. Man, we erupted at that stadium when they won. And the Commanders / used to be Redskins, those were the most entertaining and best rivalries on Thanksgiving for me. Because every time they played, it signaled Thanksgiving. And it was those 2 rivals, the Theismans, and going back and forth, the Schroeders, whenever he was playing with them. And it was just back and forth sometime, back and forth. And then we dominated them. It was great. Today, that rivalry is a rivalry simply because of the past.
Yes.
But the way the teams are playing now, we should do to them today like we did with Carolina. But start off faster.
We should smoke them. I mean, I and I know I saw a prediction Ultra, and Ultra's usually pretty hard on the Cowboys, but he even said 38-13. And I think when you look at the what the Washington has, they're not the they lost their defensive line. They traded Ray Sweat and
Chase
Young. I mean, you almost wondered, did they kind of pack in the season, whatever it is. I mean, Sam Howell's playing good. Except last week, I got 3 picks against the Giants, and they made our boy Danny DeVito look pretty damn good with 3 touchdowns and stuff. So on paper, it should be a blowout. It should be the end of it. We should win it. It should go easily. I always sometimes Washington, it's just funky, man. These games are a little funky, and with the Cowboys, we talked about fast starts, and it just seems like we just can, it's just like even the Carolina game I'm watching. Oh God, I mean, what are we doing? And I just think, to your point, is we got to put the throttle on right away, put
Right.
on their throats, get rid of it early, and do what we need to do is to put bad teams away. Now, Washington played very tough against Philly. They played very tough against them twice, and I mean, they were scrappy. They beat the Broncos, who've now kind of gotten on a little bit of roll, and Broncos were way ahead, and they came back. So they're a team that's resilient, that's gonna be there. But I think if you can demoralize them early, I think the home field and everything that goes with it,
Mm-hmm.
you just put them away early. I don't want to see one of those games where it's kind of one
Yeah.
possession,
I
that
don't
kind of
want I don't want to see that either. And I'm just concerned because of the inconsistency. I'm just concerned that our guys, some of the players, because some of them are really young, and that mindset of just taking this game for granted.
Yeah.
And I always use this analogy with somebody's thinking, well, I don't have to play that hard today because he's going to play hard. Well, he's saying in his mind, I don't have to play that hard because he's going to play hard. And everybody's thinking the next man's going to play hard, but then all of them are taking the game for granted. And like I said, Howell is playing good. The only two players on the Washington Commanders team that I always think about with a little concern, Howell and McLaughlin.
Yeah.
Those two.
Yeah.
And Howell, no matter how you look at it, to me, he's just on a not a real bad team, but he's just on an insufficient team. Howell is a good quarterback.
No, he's good.
He's got the mobility. He can find a way to get the ball to where it needs to. And today they're on prime time, Thanksgiving Day against the Cowboys. They want to beat us badly at our home. So Howell's going to play his best game. Everybody's going to come out there playing like this is the last game they'll ever play for the Commanders. And we just can't take them for granted. We have to come out understanding they're going to come to play that way and go out there and just be a juggernaut the whole game.
Yeah. Can't take them lightly. And, to Ultra's point, the Eagles secondary is bad, but the NFC East is kind of weird. The Eagles and Redskins Washington always have tough games. For some reason, Washington plays them tough. Washington plays like crap against the Giants. I don't know why.
Yeah, that's surprising.
Kill the Giants. And then with Washington and Dallas, we usually own them, but there's always kind of a weird game in there. I need to just go back all the history, and it's just always just something weird that always happens with Washington. So, I never take it for granted how their team is. I just think it's one of those, they're going to be up. They're going to be hyped. Like you said, they're going to want to play their best game. The lights are on. What better way always is to beat the Cowboys. And when you beat them on Thanksgiving, it makes it even sweeter for those teams. So there's, definitely not taking them lightly, but to the point of we should dominate them. Their offense against our defense is just, to me, it's just a huge mismatch. I think our defensive line against their offensive line, I think we should own them. Our secondary, we've always held them down. Diggs did. It's going to be interesting to see. Okay, Diggs isn't going to be there, but you got obviously Gilmore and Bland's playing unbelievable. So we're pretty healthy. I mean, a lot of people, and just a lot of people dog the Tyron Smith flipping to our offense, but he's probably been our best offensive lineman. I mean, he hasn't given up a sack. He's been, when he's there, that's one of those things is you hate him because the injuries are going to be coming. But when he's in there, he makes a huge difference for this offensive line.
Yeah, he does. And since that Carolina game, not Carolina, but the Cardinals game, and when he was healthy and he came back, you didn't even think about him because he was doing his job. He's always doing his job on that field. Even in pain, he's trying to do the job, but he's been doing his job. So far it's been pretty good with him coming back. Whatever injuries he's got, they're not so bad that they're keeping him off the field. But because Howell has mobility, our defensive line, if our defensive line can do to Washington what they did to Carolina when they finally started up to Carolina in early, there's no way that Howell, even with his mobility, is going to be able to hurt us. What it will do is force Howell to throw those picks. Because our defensive line and that rush pressures him a lot. He's going to get desperate. And
Oh,
it's going to be a
that's
pick fest.
what's gonna happen.
It's
He's
going to be
thrown
a
12
pick
picks.
fest.
I mean, he's turned the ball over under situation. Now, 3 of those came against last week against the Giants, which is like, whoa.
Yeah. And the last thing I want to see is, because I've seen it happen and I hated it, is watch another team get interviewed right out there on the 30-yard line or whatever, eating that turducken, eating the turkey leg. And then, and I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. I want it to be us, and I want it to be quick, and I want to be able to sit back and enjoy it and love it.
Yeah. And are we on CBS today? Is it Romo calling the game?
I don't know who it is. I don't know if it's on Fox or typically Fox would have it.
Yeah, because I think they go back and forth. I can't remember which one gets the prize. I know they alternate. Yes, and I can't remember.
No, it's not us, because we play at what time we play at
3:30 or
3:30.
whatever.
No, we're
It's
not on
CBS.
Fox, so we're on
CBS. There we go. Ethan
CBS.
got us in there. So yeah, Romo will be calling the game. So that'll be fun. I haven't. There we go. CBS. Yeah. So we're CBS, and then I mean I was looking at it with what a day for football. I mean the Lions, right? They're playing the Packers. That's pretty cool, and obviously us and Washington. You got some historic rivalries right there.
Right.
And then tonight you got the 49ers in Seattle. And I said, these next games, I'll be at next week and I'll be at the week after. Dallas right now, 3 home games, and we've got a home field advantage. I mean, we've actually got a nice win streak at home. These are some critical games.
Yes,
Washington,
they are.
Seattle, Philly,
Buffalo,
all at home. You got to win them all.
Yeah, at home. Yeah. And we're getting ready to go through the gauntlet. Philly's going through the gauntlet, but they pulled it out the other night.
Yeah.
Thanks to Scantling and Kelsey, who fumbled close to the end zone and dropped some wide open plays. But they're going through a gauntlet right now, but they got past the first one. We're about to start our gauntlet after this game.
Yeah.
We've got to win them all. And when we get to Buffalo in the cold, we have to pull that one out. That, to me, by the time we play Buffalo, that game right there would determine how close we're going to be to being able to try to pull out our division. But we have to win that Buffalo game. But we're getting ready to go through a gauntlet, and today ought to be a tune-up.
Yeah,
it ought to be a tune-up, and if we play consistent today like we did last week, for us fans, we can say, well, that's 2 weeks in a row consistently. They've stepped up. Now let's see if we can continue to do that the rest of the way. And that last game tonight, of course, I'm going to see how the Seahawks tonight. But the injury to Geno, and he said he's going to play, but the injury to Geno might be the decisive factor to the 49ers pulling that one out. If Geno's able to stay in the game, they're going to fight tooth and nail to try to win that one. And I hope they do.
No, and I think with Dallas, it's really going to come to the next 2 games with Philly. I mean, I thought they were going to lose Kansas City. They didn't. I mean, Kansas City just, oh God, it's terrible game at home for them. I mean, the way they get. So Philly's got the Bills at home and they got the Niners at home. I said for Dallas to have a shot, and I think it might be too late for them, but to even have a shot to get that one, to get that East division and an opportunity for a 1 seed, they got to go into the game against Philly tied with an opportunity to take the lead.
Yes.
And I don't know. I don't see Philly dropping the next 2. The Bills have been so disappointing. They got both of those games at home. I think we're going to drop one, either the Dolphins or the Bills. I just that's a tough back-to-back, road games. So and to be honest with you, looking at the playoffs, and not to get too far ahead, we got to focus one time, but I mean, it's about who you play.
Right.
And being the 1 seed is definitely always the advantage. You got the home field, you want that. And now everything is kind of tricky because they have the 7 teams and only 1 team gets a bye. But if you're Dallas, whoever doesn't win the East is going to be the top wild card seed. So you're going to play the shitty NFC South team. Whoever they play, whoever's in that 5th seed should smoke them. Then if everything plays out right, where the higher seeds win, you're going to play the 1 seed, which would be Philly.
Mm-hmm.
Philly doesn't scare me. I would rather play Philly than San Francisco
Mm-hmm.
in the playoffs. So I don't know if it really matters if they win a division or not. The only thing it would give them is a home game, which of course you'd love. But we've been to Philly. We've beaten Philly in Philly. We've played well against them, even in losses in Philly. So I'm not as I know some people get really crazy. Oh man, if we don't win our division, we're screwed. I don't know. I think the path to the playoffs in the seeding is kind of what you want. Like I said, I'd rather go up to Philly and play them than going to San Francisco. We'll see how the good
Yeah.
the Lions are. We'll find out. But I don't know. What's your thoughts on kind of are you hell bent that if we don't win our division, we're probably in trouble in the playoffs?
No, long as we're in it,
Yeah.
I'm fine. Yeah, of course I want the division because that's one less game we got to play. And
Yes.
if we get home field advantage, but I'm fine if we're in there. But here's where the magic happens, the unsuspecting magic is that first wild card game because somebody in the South is going to win their division.
Yeah.
May not be pretty, maybe like the old NFC East where you barely won your division. Everybody was almost tied. That game, that team will get a home game. And that home game, that first one out the gate, is the one that everybody needs to be paying attention to because that's where the surprises happen. That first game is somebody in the South wins their division. They get a home game against somebody. And everybody's like, oh, we're going to beat them because nobody's paying attention. That's the game that you lose when you're
Yeah.
not paying attention. That's the game that you got to watch. After that, now you're into the grind. But it's just like a few years ago when Jerry got enamored with Prescott when Romo went down, and then we went to the playoffs, and then we were trying to catch Philly, and we needed them to lose one, and then we went, and then that last game in Philly would determine it, and Philly didn't lose that game, and because of that, the game in Philly really didn't mean anything, and they set everybody, and then Romo got a chance to come back and play that
Yep.
game,
Yep.
and Terrence Williams do that touchdown, and everything was cool. But my thing is, if we get in the playoffs, in the wild card, that first game is the one I'm going to be on pins and needles because that first game is going to be the game everybody's saying, well, the Cowboys should come in and they should pull this one out regardless of who it is, blah, blah, blah. That first game we've got to win. We've got to win that. I can see the Lions pulling their division. So
yeah, the Lions are going to be the Lions are going to be more than likely. I think they're going to end up being the 2 seed, and I think Niners will be the 3 seed. I don't know who's coming out of the South, but let's say it's New Orleans, if not them, Atlanta, but probably New Orleans will be the 4. If we're the 5, and then you've got Seattle, which they could end up being the 6th, and then who would be I don't even know who would be the 7th.
But since you mentioned Seattle,
maybe. Yeah.
The South division winner and Seattle in the playoffs. Nobody needs to sleep on Seattle.
Yeah.
Those boys are pulling fingernails out trying to win. And they're playing tough games. And
they're scrappy.
And we got them this regular season.
Yeah.
That game is another game that worries me. All of them from this point on worry me.
Don't worry, Seattle. I'll be there, and your boy don't go home disappointed when I go to AT&T. So we got that one covered.
Yeah, but in the long as we're in the playoffs, I'm happy. And then once we get in the playoffs, don't take that first game for granted because that first wild card game is going to be somewhere on either side. That first wild card game, if there's going to be any surprises or upsets, that's where it's going to come from.
No, I can see it, but I firmly believe that if that were to work out, that wild card game is going to be a home game for the Cowboys because we're going to take over their stadium. Because I saw it in Tampa. I mean, Tampa had, Brady, Brady, and the fans, they just dumped all their tickets, and it was a pretty heavy Cowboy. It wasn't a home game, but it sure was pretty damn close. It was like 60-40. And I think Atlanta would do the same, and New Orleans would end up doing the same because I think those fans, they're not digging their teams. I mean, it's just been a bad division. So
yeah.
It'll be interesting. I think at the end of the day, to get where you want, Dallas is going to have to beat Philly, and they're going to have to beat San Francisco. They're going to have to get over that hump of San Francisco, and it's just one of those. It's just been a weird thing. But anyway, we're talking all this football. We talk Thanksgiving memories. We're having a great time, and just wanted to spend a quick hour with you. So Greg, give me a prediction. If you guys are in here, let's just do. We did it last night. But if you're new to the channel, or you want on, let's hear what your predictions of the game. I've seen some already going through, but Greg, what's your score prediction? How do you see this thing rolling out?
Well, my prediction, and it's more like the hope. My prediction is 42-17, and 17 comes as a washout, garbage points, because I'm expecting the Lion, Tank, and those folks to put the pressure on Howell and force pick sixes where you get a pick six, you get a pick six, you get a pick six.
So Bland breaks the record today. Is that a bold prediction for you? I don't know if it's bold, but are we going to take it?
I think Bland will. I think Bland will. And he might get two. He might get two. And somebody else might get one too. But the pressure on Howell is going to be the significant factor on us pulling this game out big and getting that ball back over and over and over. Because I don't know who their backup is, but Howell is their best chance, period. And if we make him scramble, and if we put a lot of pressure on him, we're going to get the ball. We're going to eat.
He's going to make some mistakes. I mean, he's going to make some mistakes. Sam Williams getting 2 sacks. That would be nice. Something for me, I had the Cowboys winning big too, talked about it. And the one thing I would love to see is just a huge game by our running backs.
Yeah.
Both of them. I'd love to see, is Rico, hopefully he's playing. I think Curse is the only one that was doubtful, but I know Rico was dealing with an injury, but he played last week, so I think he's in. I'd love to see them both get 100 yards. It'd be one of those games. I'm still just a little antsy on our running game. I'm still just that's what makes me nervous. And I know the running game's so important in the playoffs. When you're trying to kill the clock and you're trying to control the line of scrimmage and this and that. Mozzie getting his first sack. Yeah, I saw that. And that would be fun if that happened. But that's my bold prediction is 2 running backs at 100 yards. That would make me feel really good. It'd make me feel better. If Bland gets 2 today, yeah, you got to put him at the top of the chart for defensive player of the year. That would be unbelievable if he ends up getting 6+ on the season of pick sixes, because that's another possession. I mean, that's game changing. And he's been pretty special. So let's see a couple. I think that's Dak, 3 touchdowns, 325. He'll get start getting in the talk as an MVP. I think where Dak will get in the talk of the MVP is December 10th when we beat Philly. I think that's when you have to put him in that conversation. But I'll be honest with you, I don't know how you feel, Greg, about it, but I could give 2 craps about the MVPs. And
me neither.
I need a damn Super Bowl. I need a Super Bowl win more than anything. They can give Hurts the MVP and they can be all excited. I need a Super Bowl championship.
Yeah, with Dallas, I'm not concerned about the personal accolades, and I don't get excited when they win those personal accolades because those really don't mean much to me. What means to me is going deep into the playoffs, NFC championship games, and the Super Bowl. That's it. Yeah. Anything less than the NFC championship game to me is a failure. And the Super Bowl, getting the Super Bowl is of course, we all want that for Dallas. That's what we want. Get in that Super Bowl. And I think we get in the Super Bowl, we win it. And we got a gauntlet to go through. But there's some years, when you got 2 teams like Philly and the 49ers that seem to have our number.
Yeah.
Every now and then, something happens in the playoffs when that team says, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. And all of a sudden they get in there and it's like, Dallas is beating the Eagles in the playoffs. Dallas dominating the 49ers in the playoffs and going to the Super Bowl. It could come down to Dallas and the Detroit Lions. It could come down to Dallas and the Detroit Lions because somebody's going to be surprised in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I hope Dallas is doing the surprising.
Yeah.
But right now, get through these games and let's get ready for the playoffs and go in there and play like we are sick and tired of the chatter, the talk, and everybody else saying fly Eagles and gang, 49er gang, et cetera, et cetera. No.
Whatever.
How about them Cowboys?
So let's see. We had Bud ask a question. Who's going in the kettle? Someone's going to be jumping in. Ethan's got the odds at Lamb at -100. -100, Bland +200, Ferguson +200. Who do you got going in the kettle? What Cowboy do you think is going to be the first one jumping in that kettle after a touchdown?
Let me see who would want to go jump in that kettle. Micah.
Mike on a defensive
Micah.
touchdown. Okay.
Micah. If
That
Micah
would be
gets several sacks and all of a sudden he just gets excited, or he gets a fumble or a pick, and he runs it in, gets a pick six, he jumps in the kettle.
That would be a lot of fun. Get a lot of Tony Pollard in honor of Zeke. Get Pollard in there. I think, you know, I was going to say one of the tight ends. I was going to say Schoonmaker. I was going to throw a curveball. He got a touchdown against Carolina. He might, you know, he's a big target. If they can get him going more, I think he's one of those red zone targets that they could definitely take advantage of. Plus 6,000 on Micah getting a sack, fumble, TD. Those are good odds. I would be taking it. I want to see a lineman. That way, that might break for you. We don't want anyone to get injured. I don't know if we want them, and they better slide in if they're going in the cut.
And Schoonmaker would have to go head first because he's a little too heavy to be trying to jump up over that top to get in there.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So, hey, just wanted to get an hour, and I got to go drop a hype video. I got to go wake some people up. Wake the whole house up because they're like sleeping. They're gonna be up real quick. So we're gonna get this thing rolling. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Wasn't sure how the turnout on Thanksgiving morning. I know there's so much going on, but obviously the chat was hot. Everyone coming in. Thank you so much. Continue. Hit that like button. It's one of those things that help us. It doesn't cost you a cent, but if you hit the like, it helps the algorithms. It helps us get noticed. It helps Kelly and I, Jimmy D and Greg and all the family in the Cowboys Cave help spread the word about what we're doing. And we got a lot of great things in the mix that's going to be happening. My work schedule's got a lot easier now as we're hitting December, so I can get more focused to make sure we stay consistent with our times. And I'm working on a couple guests, some Cowboy guys, some people coming in. And I talked to Greg. For all you Miami Hurricane fans, I got a few out there. We're thinking about doing a Miami Hurricane State of the Union, maybe bring in some Canes and some fans of the Canes that get this thing, see if we can figure it out once and for all and get one of these. The Canes are like the Cowboys. We run parallel. So Cowboys win the Super Bowl. Maybe we get the Canes to win a championship. Yeah. So, but just want to say happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Thank you so much, Greg. Happy Thanksgiving. I hope you have a great time with their family. And Kelly don't get up. Kelly sleeps in, so he's not the morning guy for this show. I tell him to call in, come in, but yeah, thank you. And any final words for you, Greg? We appreciate you jumping in because it's a little early for you too.
Yeah. Well, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And the most important thing of today is to be safe. Be safe no matter what you do. But I'm going out here and right after this show, and I'm going to dress up Cowboys. I just love watching the game when I got on all that Cowboys gear, man. It's just that much more exciting. And you get in your man cave and you got the surround sound, everything blasting. But everybody, Cowboys Nation, Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving today. Suit up, gear up, eat up, drink up, be careful. Enjoy the Cowboys today because today we put it on those Commanders.
Yeah, absolutely. He can't say it any better than that. So you guys, happy Thanksgiving. Appreciate you stopping by. We will see you on Monday. Take care.
Take it over. Yeah.